The sun had barely risen when Sarah rolled her wheelchair onto the bustling streets of her hometown. She was a decorated veteran, having served in the army for nearly a decade. Her body had taken hits that her mind sometimes struggled to process, but her spirit remained unbroken. Even though a spinal injury had confined her to a wheelchair, Sarah refused to let her condition define her. This morning, like many mornings before, she was heading to the community center for a veterans support meeting. Her army jacket bore medals and badges that told stories of courage few could imagine. Yet in her town, the world didn't always see the medals. They saw the wheelchair first. As Sarah approached the center, a group of teenagers loitering near the entrance noticed her. They exchanged sly grins. She had seen this before. Whispers, stares, occasional cruel laughs. But she ignored them, focusing on her goal.
Hey, look who's rolling in.
One sneered, another chimed in, louder this time. Bet she can't even open the door herself. Must be helpless. Sarah took a deep breath and pushed forward. The wheelchair's tires squeaked slightly, but she moved with precision and determination. She opened the heavy glass doors herself, a small smile on her face. Some of the teens snickered, thinking they had won. Inside, the community center was a sanctuary. Familiar faces of veterans, caregivers, and friends greeted her warmly. For a moment, she felt safe, but she knew the encounter outside would follow her. Later that day, Sarah went to the local cafe, planning to grab lunch before heading home. As she wheeled up to the counter, she noticed the same group of teens sitting at a corner table. They whispered, pointing, their eyes full of mischief. "Watch this," one said, quietly. Before she could react, a soda can flew through the air. It hit her wheelchair's armrest, spilling onto her jacket. The cafe went silent. Customers stared. Some gasped. "Hey! What do you think you're doing?" The barista shouted, rushing over. Sarah looked at the teens.com, but fierce. "I don't know what made you think that was okay," she said slowly, her voice steady. "But you need to leave now." The teens laughed, thinking they could intimidate her. But Sarah didn't flinch. Her hands gripped the wheels of her chair, ready to defend herself if needed. "You know," she said, leaning slightly forward, "I've faced worse than this, and I'm still here, stronger than ever." The barista helped clean the mess while the teens retreated, muttering under their breaths. Sarah stayed calm. The cafe patrons who'd witnessed the scene began to whisper among themselves. Many offered her nods of respect, some even clapping softly for her courage. After lunch, she went to the park, needing some quiet reflection. As she sat near the fountain, she thought about her life since the injury. Each day was a battle, not just physically, but socially. People often judged her by what she couldn't do, instead of what she could. But she knew that her real strength wasn't improving them wrong, it was improving herself right. The battle wasn't about them. It was about her resilience, her courage, and her refusal to be defined by a weak. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah looked up at the sky. Tomorrow, she would return to the community center. Back to her support group. Back to the place where she felt empowered. And if those teens tried to bully her again, she would face them not with anger, but with unwavering strength. The next morning, Sarah woke early, as she always did. Her body ached in places it hadn't before, but her mind was sharp, fueled by determination. The events at the cafe yesterday still lingered in her thoughts. She had faced bullies before, but something about their boldness in public had unsettled her. She knew this wasn't just random. They were testing her, pushing to see if she would break. After breakfast, she wheeled herself toward the local gym where she had been participating in adaptive fitness classes. The gym was a safe space, a place where strength wasn't measured by how far you could run, but by the resilience of your spirit. As she neared the entrance, she froze. There they were again, the same group of teens from yesterday, lounging casually by the door. They smirked when they saw her, exchanging glances that made her skin crawl. "Morning, slowpoke," one of them jeered. "Bet you can't even get inside without some help." Sarah didn't respond. She adjusted her jacket, pushed the wheelchair forward, and entered the gym with calm determination. The teens followed, their footsteps echoing like a challenge. Inside, Sarah's friend and coach, Marcus, noticed the tension. "Everything okay?" he asked, approaching her. Sarah nodded. "Just some familiar faces trying to stir trouble. I've got this." but the teens weren't ready to give up. As she wheeled to her workout station, they began whispering loudly, deliberately trying to distract her. "Bet she can't lift that dumbbell," one mocked. "What? A joke." Sarah stopped, took a deep breath, and looked directly at them. "You're entitled to your opinion," she said, her voice steady. "But I didn't come here to entertain you. I'm here to get stronger." Her words hit harder than she realized. Some gym-goers watched in awe, impressed by her composure. But the teens only laughed, feeling challenged. They weren't satisfied with words. They wanted a spectacle. Minutes later, one of them grabbed a medicine ball and rolled it toward her path, hoping to trip her or disrupt her workout. Sarah's reflexes, honed through years in the army, kicked in. She maneuvered her wheelchair with precision, dodging the ball and keeping her focus. The gym fell silent. For the first time, the teens hesitated, realizing this wasn't going to be easy. Sarah's defiance and skillful control of her wheelchair had turned a potential humiliation into a quiet victory. After her workout, Sarah wheeled outside, needing fresh air. She paused by a tree and looked around, realizing something important. The real battle wasn't about anger, revenge, or confrontation. It was about confidence and self. Every time she stood her ground, she sent a message not just to the bullies, but to everyone who doubted her. Suddenly, the teens appeared again, blocking her path. This time, the tallest of them stepped forward. "You think you're tough?" he sneered. "We're not done with you yet." Sarah met his gaze. There was no fear, only clarity. "Tough?" she asked, her tone calm but firm. "I've faced worse than you. I've seen battlefields, chaos, and loss. And I survived. You're just a distraction." A tense silence followed. The teens' bravado faltered slightly. For a moment, Sarah could see doubt creeping into their eyes. Then she leaned slightly forward and said something that would echo in their minds forever. "You want to test me? Fine. But remember this. Strength isn't just muscle. It's courage. It's resilience. And no matter what you do, that's something you can't take from me." The teens, for once, were speechless. Slowly, they backed away, realizing that Sarah wasn't just a veteran in a wheelchair. She was a force to be respected. As Sarah wheeled home that evening, the sun casting golden streaks across the pavement, she felt a sense of quiet triumph. Today had been a test not of her physical ability, but of her inner strength. And once again, she had proven to herself that wheelchairs don't mean weakness. But deep down, she knew this wasn't the end. The bullies were clever, persistent, and unpredictable. Their next move could be worse, and Sarah had to be ready not just to defend herself, but to teach a lesson about courage and respect that no one would ever forget. Her journey was just beginning. The following week, Sarah felt a mixture of vigilance and determination. She knew the bullies would try something bigger. They weren't satisfied with words or small confrontations. They wanted attention, a spectacle, and perhaps to humiliate her. But Sarah had learned something important in her years of service. Preparation and strategy could turn the tide. That afternoon, she wheeled herself toward the downtown park, a place she often visited to clear her mind. Children played, vendors sold snacks, and the sunlight glimmered off the fountain. It was peaceful, a perfect contrast to the tension brewing in the background. Sarah noticed the same group of teens hanging around the far end of the park, casually pretending to be part of the crowd, but she could feel their energy. It was focused on her. Her heart rate quickened, not from fear but from anticipation. She knew they were planning something. One of the teens, the tallest and boldest of the group, stepped forward. "Hey, Slowpoke," he called, loud enough for nearby people to hear. "Why don't you show us some of your special moves?" His tone was mocking, and the others laughed, surrounding her like predators circling prey. Sarah stopped, her wheelchair steady. She scanned the area. The teens had blocked several paths, trying to corner her. But she noticed an opening near a cluster of trees where sunlight created long shadows. "Are you going to challenge me, or just talk?" The bully sneered. Sarah smiled. Slightly a smile that didn't reach her lips fully, but reached her eyes. "I think it's time you learned something about strength," she said calmly. The teens lunged, trying to shove her wheelchair or scare her. But Sarah's military training kicked in. She shifted quickly, using momentum to dodge them, and navigated skillfully toward the open path she had noticed. One of the bullies tried to block her, but she leaned forward and accelerated, narrowly escaping a push. The commotion drew the attention of pargoers. A few people started filming, some calling for help, but Sarah didn't wait. She knew she had to turn the situation to her advantage. As she moved, she spoke, loud enough for the teens to hear. "You think bullying is power? But power comes from discipline, courage, and respect. You're testing me, but I've faced things you couldn't even imagine." One teen, growing frustrated, tried to grab her wheelchair. Sarah anticipated this. She twisted sharply, using her upper body strength to pivot her chair and sent him off balance carefully, without causing serious harm. He stumbled, and the others paused, surprised by her skill and control. Then Sarah did something unexpected. She wheeled toward the fountain, maneuvering in a circular motion, her hands moving with precision. Water splashed slightly as she passed, and suddenly the teens realized she was not just defending herself, she was outsmarting them. "You see," Sarah said, her voice calm but firm. "Being in a wheelchair doesn't mean weakness. It means adaptation. It means resilience. And if you think you can intimidate me, you're wrong." The teens were stunned. Some of them backed away, realizing this wasn't just an ordinary confrontation. Sarah had turned the tables not with violence, but with strategy and confidence. A small crowd had gathered now, watching the scene unfold. Some clapped, others cheered. Sarah felt a surge of pride, not arrogance, but validation. She was not alone, and the bullies could no longer intimidate her without consequence. Finally, the tallest teen muttered, "This isn't over," before they all retreated, muttering among themselves. Sarah watched them go, her chest heavy but steady. She knew their threat wasn't gone, just postponed. As she wheeled home that evening, the sunset painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson. Sarah paused at the edge of the park, looking around at the peaceful scene. She thought about the lessons she had learned. Courage was not the absence of fear, and strength was not always visible. Sometimes it was quiet, calculated, and unwavering. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The bullies were persistent, yes, but Sarah was prepared. Each day, she was proving something important, not just to them, but to herself and everyone watching. Strength comes in many forms, and a wheelchair does not define weakness. Her journey wasn't just about standing up to bullies, it was about inspiring others, showing that courage is contagious, and proving that resilience could turn even the darkest encounters into victories. Sarah smiled to herself. This was far from over, and she wouldn't just survive it. It was time to thrive. The days that followed were quiet, but Sarah knew it was a deceptive calm. The bullies hadn't gone away. They were simply regrouping, plotting their next move. She felt it in the way they glared at her from a distance, whispering and smirking. But Sarah wasn't afraid. She was planning. At the community center, she met with her friend Marcus and explained her idea. "They're persistent," she said, rolling her wheelchair toward the center table. "But persistence without strategy is nothing. I need to turn this into a lesson for him, and for anyone else who thinks intimidation works." Marcus nodded. "I trust you, Sarah. What's the plan?" Sarah smiled faintly. "We'll use their own arrogance against them. They want an audience, right? They want attention. So, I'll give them one, on my terms." Later that afternoon, Sarah set up a small obstacle course in the park, a mix of ramps, cones, and tricky turns. It wasn't just a physical test, it was a demonstration. As the workout, curious passers-by stopped to watch, intrigued by the unusual setup. Some children even came over, asking if they could try. Sarah explained she wasn't just showing off her wheelchair skills, she was showing what determination and strategy could achieve. By evening, everything was ready. Sarah positioned herself at the start of the course, confident and focused. She sent a discreet message to Marcus, asking him to discreetly film the event. The goal wasn't the humiliation, it was exposure. Sure enough, the bullies appeared as if on cue, laughing and pointing from across the park. "Looks like she's putting on a little show," one sneered. "Bet she can't even finish it." Sarah didn't respond. Instead, she wheeled onto the course, her hands gripping the wheels with precision. Every movement was calculated, every turn executed with skill honed from years of discipline. The crowd watched in awe as she navigated ramps, spun through cones, and maintained perfect balance, all while her eyes never left the path ahead. The teens' confidence began to crack. They muttered under their breath, realizing this was no ordinary demonstration. "This isn't possible," one said, shaking his head. Sarah completed the course flawlessly, stopping in front of the crowd with her chest lifted, a quiet, commanding presence. The crowd erupted in applause. Children cheered, adults clapped, and even passersby who had never seen her before whispered about her courage. But the moment wasn't just for applause, it was a message. Sarah wheeled directly toward the bullies and stopped a few feet away. "Do you see now?" she asked calmly, her voice carrying through the park. "You thought you could intimidate me. You thought a wheelchair meant weakness, but this is strength." The tallest teen stepped forward, red-faced and embarrassed. This isn't fair," he stammered. Sarah shook her head. "Fairness isn't the point. Respect is courage, peace, and strength. Strength comes from within, not from mocking others." Marcus, who had been filming discreetly, captured the entire moment. It wasn't just for evidence, it was for inspiration. Sarah knew that sometimes the greatest victories were the ones that taught lessons quietly but firmly. The teens, humiliated and outmaneuvered, finally retreated. Their whispers of defiance faded, replaced by silence. Sarah watched them go, her expression calm but resolute. This confrontation had been about more than physical ability. It had been about turning intimidation into empowerment. Afterward, the crowd approached her, many offering thanks, admiration, and even apologies on behalf of the teens. Sarah smiled politely, but inside, she felt a deeper satisfaction. This wasn't about revenge. This was about proving a point. Courage, strategy, and resilience always win over arrogance. As the sun set, painting the park in golden light, Sarah reflected on the day. She had faced the bullies head-on, but on her terms. She had turned fear into demonstration, weakness into power, and mockery into a lesson. Tomorrow, she knew, the bullies might still try, but she was ready. She had proven something vital. Strength isn't defined by the body, and courage isn't measured by the absence of fear. Wheelchairs don't define weakness. They define resilience, strategy, and unwavering spirit. Sarah wheeled home that evening with a quiet sense of triumph. She was prepared for whatever came next. Her journey wasn't just survival, it was transformation. And anyone who underestimated her would soon learn that true strength lies in courage, heart, and the refusal to back down. The days after the park demonstration were unusually quiet. Sarah felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. She knew the bullies hadn't given up. They were regrouping, planning something bigger. But Sarah wasn't afraid. She had faced fear in battle, and she had faced ridicule and mockery. This was just another challenge. That Friday afternoon, as Sarah wheeled through the downtown market, she felt eyes on her. The bullies had been waiting. This time, their plan was more daring. They weren't just going to mock her, they were trying to trap her. "Hey, Slowpoke!" one shouted, blocking the path with his friends. "Think you're brave? Let's see how brave you really are." Sarah paused, assessing the situation. The alley they were in was narrow, with few witnesses around. She could sense the tension rising, but she stayed calm. Her army training kicked in. Evaluate, anticipate, act. The tallest teen lunged, trying to block her wheelchair. But Sarah had anticipated this. With a swift movement, she pivoted, dodging him, and maneuvered toward a wider area where she could control the space. "You keep thinking this is about me being weak," she said, her voice steady and unwavering. "It's not. This is about respect and courage. And those are things you'll never understand if you keep trying to intimidate others." The teens advanced together, trying to corner her, but Sarah's wheelchair was her advantage. She used her upper body strength and agility to move quickly, weaving between obstacles, her movements precise and calculated. Every attempt the bullies made to block her was met with skillful maneuvering. Then, she did something unexpected. She headed toward a nearby fountain area where people often gathered. Ergo luasan T confrontationet was exposure. The crowd around the fountain began to notice the commotion. Whispers spreading. The bullies tried to act confident, but their plan was unraveling. They were now being watched by dozens of people. Sarah's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with their frantic energy. "You want to challenge me?" she asked, stopping in the middle of the fountain plaza. "Fine. But this ends now. Not with violence, but with truth. I am not weak, and you cannot intimidate me." At that moment, Marcus emerged from the crowd, filming the entire encounter. He had anticipated the bully's last attempt and was ready. The footage captured every moment. The arrogance of the bullies, Sarah's control, her composure, and the crowd's reaction. One of the teens, realizing they were being recorded, faltered. We didn't mean," he stammered. Sarah's eyes softened slightly, but her tone remained firm. "Intentions don't erase actions. You chose to bully, and now everyone can see who is truly strong, not mere choices." By now, several bystanders had gathered, some calling out in support, others capturing the moment on their phones. The bullies, realizing their plan had completely failed, retreated in shame, their confidence shattered. Sarah wheeled to the center of the plaza, the crowd applauding, cheering, and acknowledging her courage. Children looked at her with admiration, adults with respect, and even strangers whispered about her bravery. She had faced the ultimate test, and she had won not through confrontation, but through courage, skill, and unwavering self-belief. Later that evening, Sarah sat quietly by her window at home, reflecting on the day. This confrontation had been more than a personal victory. It was a lesson for everyone. Strength isn't measured by the body. True strength is courage, resilience, and the ability to stand tall, even when others try to push you down. Sarah's phone buzzed with messages of admiration and support from people who had witnessed the event or seen Marcus's footage. Her story was spreading, inspiring others to face challenges, bullying, or self-doubt with courage. As she looked out into the night sky, Sarah realized something profound. She hadn't just defended herself, she had become a symbol that strength is not limited to physical ability, and that courage is louder than mockery. Tomorrow, life would continue. There might still be challenges, and bullies might linger. But Sarah knew one truth that could never be taken away. She was resilient, fearless, and unstoppable. And with that thought, she smiled, knowing that her journey wasn't just about surviving. It was about inspiring courage in everyone who witnessed her strength. The following week, the town seemed different to Sarah. Word of the fountain confrontation had spread like wildfire. People who had never spoken to her nodded in recognition. Children waved excitedly. Local shopkeepers offered small gestures of support. The bullies were still around, but their confidence was gone. They no longer dared challenge her openly. Sarah arrived at the community center that morning, her wheelchair moving smoothly over the worn cobblestone paths. Marcus greeted her with a smile. "You're going to want to see this," he said, handing her his phone. Sarah watched, amazed, as the footage of her confrontation played. Not just the skillful navigation of the wheelchair or the bully's failed attempt, it was the reactions of the crowd. Children clapping, adults cheering, and strangers whispering about the courage of a veteran who refused to be defined by her wheelchair. "It's more than just me," Sarah said softly. "It's a reminder that strength isn't always visible. People need to see this." Marcus nodded. "Exactly, and you're inspiring more than you realize." That afternoon, Sarah was approached by the town mayor. "Sarah," he said, shaking her hand warmly, "the town council would like to honor you. Your courage, your resilience, it has reminded all of us of the power of determination and integrity." Sarah felt a rush of emotions: humility, pride, and a quiet joy. She accepted the invitation with grace, knowing the recognition wasn't just about her, it was about the lesson her story represented. Over the next few weeks, Sarah began mentoring young people in the town, especially those who felt isolated or marginalized. She shared her experiences, not just as a veteran or someone in a wheelchair, but as someone who had faced intimidation and overcome it. Her story became a beacon for others, teaching that courage, resilience, and respect were far more powerful than fear or cruelty. Meanwhile, the bullies, having witnessed the town's admiration for Sarah, gradually disappeared from her path. They learned, in their own way, that intimidation only holds power over those who allow it. Sarah had shown them not through anger or aggression, but through calm, unwavering strength. That true power comes from integrity and courage. One afternoon, as Sarah wheeled herself to the park where the fountain stood, she noticed a small group of children practicing an obstacle course she had once set up. Some of them laughed, cheered each other on, and celebrated their small victories. Sarah watched, a smile forming on her lips. The lesson she had lived had now begun to ripple outward. She realized then that the journey had never been just about standing up to bullies. It had been about creating a ripple of courage, showing everyone, children, adults, and even strangers, that true strength is measured by how we face challenges, support others, and inspire respect without hatred. As the sun set over the town, Sarah paused by the fountain, her wheelchair resting beside her. The water reflected the sky, golden and calm, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a deep sense of peace. Her journey had been difficult, filled with tests of patience, courage, and resilience, but she had emerged stronger, not because she wanted revenge or recognition, but because she chose to live with integrity, dignity, and unwavering strength. And in that moment, Sarah knew something important. Her story wasn't just hers. It belonged to everyone who had ever faced doubt, cruelty, or fear. She'd shown that wheelchairs don't define weakness, that courage isn't measured in muscle or speed, and that one determined soul can inspire an entire community. Sarah wheeled herself home that evening, the streets bathed in golden light, children waving, neighbors smiling, and the town filled with quiet admiration. She had faced the bullies, faced fear, and faced doubt, and she had won, because strength is not just physical. Strength is courage. Strength is resilience. And above all, strength is the unwavering belief in yourself, no matter the obstacles. Sarah looked at the horizon, her heart full, knowing that her journey would continue not as a battle, but as a legacy of courage and inspiration.